I'm faculty at the African Leadership University. So I've over the past year or so I've worked at ANU, I have been developing programs and delivering programs for the academic side of the school, and now for the MBA side of the school as well. So I was born in Zambia, and then I grew up mostly in Botswana. My mom was a high school teacher. She loved very much loved her country. Almost every day she would remind us how she wanted to go back home, how the food in Botswana couldn't compare to the food in Zambia, how everything is just so much better at home because family, because friends. But in all that time that she kept talking about these things, she continued to live in Botswana. And if I have to boil down the reason that my mother, who loved her country so much, left it and went to live, can you still hear me clearly? Okay. And went to live in a foreign country for over, I think it was about 12 years of her life, is very basically bad leadership. Because of the fact that the education system in Zambia wasn't very well maintained, and the government of Botswana had done a much better job of managing their education system than the government of Zambia had done, my mother decided to leave her country for better opportunities in Botswana. So, why am I telling you this story? When we think about bad leadership, we often think bad leadership in the business sphere, right? We often just say, when you're not a good leader, we like to refer to the business sphere. But leadership and the traits that we talk about embodying should go beyond just the private sector. It should go beyond just an entrepreneur. It should go into the public sector. It should be something that every single one of us embodies, right? In order to ensure that things like that don't happen, in order to ensure that an economy keeps its workforce, and people don't have to leave their country to go and work in foreign countries. Over the past few years, I've worked, like he mentioned, I've been privileged to travel and to study and to work and to live in multiple countries. And I think now it's maybe 8 or 9 countries that I've lived and worked in. Half of those have been on the continent, and the other half has been outside, part of it in Asia, part of it in Europe. In that time, I've engaged with a lot of businesses, I've engaged with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of my friends actually running businesses, both within the continent and outside of the continent. And then now coming back to Africa and working for ANU, I've been, I think, lucky to be part of the team that's building courses such as Doing Business in Africa, where we're essentially looking for, what are the traits, what are the things that make one able to be successful on the continent, more successful than other people, successful compared to anywhere else. In this time, because I spent so much time in this area, it's becoming, clearer. You can sort of see what the traits are. And the unfortunate truth is, it's harder to be a great leader, to be a change maker on the continent, in Africa, than it is in other parts of the world. But these are the things that I find are pertinent to great leadership on the continent. Some people call it perseverance, determination, persistence. There are many, many ways to put it, but ultimately, it means try, and try again. No matter what business you're running, how many times you failed, figure out what went wrong, learn from your failure, pick yourself up and try again. A lot of the learning that we do is through case studies. Case studies, i.e., showcasing a particular business and how they're operating and all of those things and the things that they face. Show us that the better leaders, the ones who succeed, are the ones that, when they fail, learn something from it and move on. And I have a friend from Ghana. He's an entrepreneur, very successful guy now. When I first met him about 8, maybe 9 years ago, he was working in the banking sector, in the operations side of banking. Is there anyone here who works at a bank? Okay, well, we have 2 guys. And so those that work in the banking know that the operations side of banking not the very sexy side of banking. Sexy is the corporate banking, is the investment banking, but when you talk about the operations, and especially if you're not even a manager in operations, it's not exactly the best part of banking. So he decided, this is about maybe 9 years ago, that he was going to, on the side, have a side gig. He bought a taxi and got a driver, put it on the road, started making money. So over a period of about 2 years, he ended up with about 19 taxis. He actually got a loan from the bank, the same bank he was working in, because the rates were better. And over 2 years, had 19 taxis, drivers all across the city, started raking in some money, which was a good thing. But then it became hectic because it needed lots of management. It needed a lot of effort on his part to keep it going. And at that time, he was still working for the bank. So it was almost as if he was juggling two things. He didn't want to quit his job because, as everybody knows in Africa, these businesses are risky, right? And if anybody has ever owned a taxi, you know it's a risky business. You never know what story they're going to tell you tomorrow, and the car won't come back and you just won't even know what to do, right? So he thought, this is too risky. I can't quit my job. I will keep running them side by side. He hired somebody to take over the management, the day-to-day running of the business. And that's how he started to fail. After some time, he realized too many losses, too many risks, and he gave up that business. Sold the cars. He decided that I've learned my lessons. The lesson he learned from this was, especially when a business is still young and you are very heavily invested in it. He had loans, remember. Don't let it go. You need to manage it full time. But that was the learning point. He moved on to the next business. The next thing he did was trackers. You know the things you put in the car so that you can know where it is at any point in time. The idea came to him because when he had the taxis, he realized that the drivers were lying a lot about where they were. So he needed to be able to track, from his computer, make sure that whatever they're saying that they have done, whatever number of rides they've done is what they've actually done. So he used trackers in his cars, but when he got those for his own vehicles, a lot of people were asking him about those trackers. A lot of companies were now beginning to inquire, those with transportation vehicles, those with trucks that are transporting food, goods across the country were asking about trackers because they wanted to track their vehicles as well. So then he decided, okay, maybe let me try that. So he imported a whole bunch of trackers and set up a business, putting them into cars and then managing them himself. So put it into somebody's vehicle and then be the person managing it so that ultimately you are the one running the business. You don't hand it off to them. And for the past 4 or so years, this is what he's been doing. Very successful business. Because of the fact that he had learned that he couldn't pass this business off to somebody else, he quit his job with the bank and now runs this full-time. Very successful business. As I'm speaking now, I think it's probably in the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of a business. Of course, as time goes on, competitors will get it, and it will be hard to make those profits. But for the moment, that's his grid. Tenacity, right? In all of this time, he could have quit the first time. He could have said, too much money lost. He could have quit the second time and said, too much of my effort, and this thing is not going anywhere. But he kept going, and even now, even as he's running this business successfully, he's also engaging in other businesses, constantly looking for new ideas. So tenacity. This leads us to the next point, which is learning and exposure. I'll just give you a minute to read that. As I speak now, he not only is the business flourishing, his father's business, but he also has developed an offshoot of the business that is entirely personally his, and that also is flourishing. Because he knew that I don't have the skill set. I need to equip myself with the skills to manage this. So that's learning. Expose yourself to learning. A third way to think about learning is just curiosity, right? You don't necessarily have to only learn about the things that matter for your job. Equip yourself with knowledge on other things. Have an interest, have a curious mind. Exposure is what breeds creativity. And this is proven. Sometimes, back in the past, we used to think, some people are talented, they're creative. Some of us were not creative, we're not talented in that way. But no, actually, creativity comes from exposure. The more things you expose yourself to, the more things that your eyes have seen, the more things that your brain has contemplated, the more likely you are to be creative, because creativity is simply a combination of different aspects of things. And then when you put it together, it suddenly becomes something more. So, exposure, learning. Have a curious mind. Don't ever get to a point where you feel that you now know it's enough. No more learning. I know I can now do with the knowledge that I have. You never get to that point. At every point, you're always learning. Another way to think of ethics is, of sustainability, is in how you choose the business, sort of the ideas that you run with, how you develop great ideas, and how you. This is not just for entrepreneurs, but even for people working in larger organizations. When you're working on projects, what are the things that you pick so that they can be longer lasting and they can have an impact in the long term? Is to think of things that are helpful for society. So things that, I'm going to give an example of a company I read about recently in Kenya, that they saw all the trash, around in the city and everything, and decided we're going to do something about this. They would pick plastic, all kinds of plastic bags, and mold them into poles for electricity. Suddenly, the city was getting cleaner and they were making money. It was such a great idea that the demand that they had at the time that they started, I don't know about now where they are, they had more than 4 or 5 times demand than what they could produce. Think about things that are sustainable, especially for Africa, where there are so many things that we see just as soon as you step outside of the building. There are so many things that you could change. Think of how do we solve these problems profitably, but also sustainably. Another way to look at sustainability is Ubuntu. Who doesn't know what Ubuntu is? Doesn't know. Yeah. So everybody knows what Ubuntu is to think sustainability is, if I prosper, you prosper as well. I shouldn't be the only one prospering in my community. It's not going to last. Especially for large corporations, if you are mining somewhere, create an environment in which the people that live within that community are also benefiting from the good coming out of the earth. If I prosper, you prosper. Sustainability is the works, and this is what corporate social responsibility policies have originally been built on. Now it's a bit of a muddle. Nobody really knows where the corporates are going with their CSR. But what it's built on is, if a company benefits, if my business benefits from this community, the community should benefit from my company. That's how we build sustainability. This leads me to the next point, which is on sharing, especially on our continent, where there are so many things that can still be done to move us forward development-wise. Share what you know. And I don't just mean sharing by talking about your success and how wonderful your journey has been, but also just sharing what you know. If, for instance, you have been selected in your company to go and study something somewhere, and you come back with a skill set, don't sit on that knowledge. Call the ones that are your subordinates and also teach them what you have learned. Especially in Africa, where opportunities are not as easy coming. Share what you know. Multiply the benefits of your knowledge, of your experience, so that others too can benefit. The more that you pass it on, the more that the next person passes it on, the easier is our community to live. And the better that your change making, it multiplies, it goes on to the next person. That brings me to the end of the talk. Thank you very much for listening.